Hey, all, I want to welcome you back to another edition of Printing's Alive, the podcast that talks about everything print, anytime, anywhere. But today I am super fucking excited because we got the main man. This is the man who's making everything happen, and you need to listen to this show. We got Nick G from Print Profit. What's happening, Nick?
How you doing, Warren? We're coming in hot. You ready for a fun conversation?
Oh, man, I am on fire. I've been on fire since I woke up this morning, excited for this. So I got a little intro here that I want to read because not everyone knows Nick G, and you better know Nick G. And if after this show you don't know Nick G, you're going to call him and get to know him. So here we go. Today's guest is someone who's flipping the traditional print mindset on its head. Yes, on its head. Nick G is an industry strategist, speaker, educator who's laser focused, lost my thing, on helping printers rethink how they run their businesses. With deep experience across the OEMs, tech vendors, M&A, Nick isn't just talking history. He's helping shops take action today. Real action, people. It's an industry where profits are traditionally razor thin. Yes, most of you know you're just sucking the bag for no reason when you could have more money in your pocket. Okay, Nick brings a fresh perspective on what sustainable success really looks like in print. And you know what, folks? Way back when print was print, there was oodles of money being made. And then somewhere along the way, people got real stupid in our industry. We started selling down. It was a race to the bottom line. You weren't looking at your expenses or anything. You were just looking at your dumb competitor next door who was giving away a copy by the percent thing as opposed to the cost of the job. Anyways, we're going to dig into this. So why so many printers are stuck in the past and why they need to be looking at the future if they want to succeed. The ones who are willing to adapt, I promise you, you're going to have great conversations later when you're on a nice trip somewhere, spending the money that you're making. Otherwise, the rest of you just keep doing what you are doing. How was that for an intro, Nick?
And the choir says amen.
Amen. So, all right. You know, I know where to begin. I don't know where to begin. I got to actually catch my breath for a moment. Got to catch my breath. I'm just going to breathe.
There's so many questions. And you don't know this, Warren, but I've got a lot of old, dusty books in front of me. How to make money in the printing business.
Oh my God.
Printing for profit. Estimating hints for printers. These go back to the late 1800s. Early 1900s, and the way we as an industry think about costing, pricing, profit, it hasn't changed in over 100 years. I'm telling you.
30% paper, 30% labor, and then whatever you want to fill into the rest, and hopefully you've covered your shipping.
Yeah, a lot of the traditional hourly rates and Frankenstein Excel spreadsheets. You know from some of your old videos where in your wingspan, we could show all the hourly rate calculations. It's madness. And we really don't, as an industry, have clarity to where we're making or losing money. And with razor thin margins, big overhead factories, we're a few bad decisions away from an outcome we don't want to talk about, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Before I ask you one question, I want my listeners, hopefully now we're up to thousands, maybe millions in my head. Tell us a little bit about you, Print Profit, and like really just what brought it on and made you want to do that. Because honestly, it isn't the most exciting thing in the world, right? You're a young guy. You could be playing video games. You could be in some tech world. I mean, you're a little bit of tech with this, but you know what I mean. So let us know.
Yeah, got into print by coincidence in high school. Grew up in St. Paul, Minnesota. Found that is my passion. That is my calling in life. I love print, everything about it. And then long story short, spent about 20 years traveling the world, working in our industry, seeing it from all different nooks and crannies. But there was a common thread, no matter where I went, no matter who I was speaking with, profitability, challenged, behind closed doors, owners saying, Nick, I can't see it clearly. Where am I winning? Where am I losing? How do I improve? And then out of a love for our industry, and we're tied with that together, Warren, I'm like, there's got to be a better way because I've lived it. It's madness. We love this industry. I love the people in it, and we want a brighter future. So let's modernize data, the way we think about costing, pricing, profit, and let's move towards that brighter future.
Amen, brother. So before we get into a couple questions, I want to give credit to all of the great printing companies out there that we don't talk about because they're so great and they're doing it. But you're spending money in the plant, you're spending money on your people, you're investing in the culture, you're investing in your customers, and you are making a lot of money because of it. You're doing it the right way for the right reason. So to all of you out there, and I can't mention you because there's just too many, kudos to you. Now, to the rest of you in the graveyard, this is what you want to start listening to. So, Nick, from traveling the world, right? Why is it that everyone in print is in the same position? Razor thin margins.
A lot of
By the way, I just want to start off by reminding everyone, razor thin margins in a crazy capital intensive business, right? Why?
and where all of our, paper and inks and consumables are going up and up and up. So there's a lot of different reasons and factors, but I want to go back to these old dusty, moldy textbooks. And I really see us challenged where the way we think about costs, they come from those hourly rates, which we don't clearly understand. And that's what we rely on. And we're messing up our MIS system, adjusting the rates to what they need to be. But we don't, as an industry, see clearly what are our costs. And then how do we come up with our selling prices? It's from the MIS. It takes that cost or what we think it is, and it puts a markup, and we go to
markup.
And then we think we're making a profit, but it's really a mirage because we've taken all of those costs and we've tried to sprinkle it into a job, and we lose our sense of reality. This is I have a 2.5-year-old daughter. This is a toy I bought for her, and it reminds me of our industry where we sell a lot, we get our financials, and trying to tie out why we won or lost, what were the good or bad jobs, customers, products, industries. We're guessing at best. And that's where I just say, we've got to innovate. We've got to think different. We've got to use data. It's 2025. Come on.
You know what? Before that, even what I used to do. We had an MIS system that was whatever, worked when it worked, didn't when it didn't. But one thing I think you need to start with that most don't do is most don't even analyze or look at the job after it's done to try to get even somewhat of a handle. So forget if you're just using markups or hourly rates, even using that as a basic, it took 12 hours on the press, you want $600 an hour. You're able to figure out some basics, right? To give you the idea. And what I noticed is from all the meetings, peer groups, most printers aren't even reviewing after the job is done and billed out.
Yeah, I would agree. There's a lot of missed opportunities and low-hanging fruit to want to get a better handle on it.
Why redo the same job at a loss 20 times throughout the year?
And I want to talk about, a job at a loss because our understanding of costs are so complicated. Many times we'll say we're winning at this job, losing at this job, maybe the customer, maybe the division of the company, wide format, whatever. But a lot of times we might kick those out when they could be good for us, or we might double down when in reality, it may not be performing like we think. And that's where it's so dangerous. Like you said, the environment of capital intensive, razor thin margins, and we don't have a lot of room for error in that regard.
So even we'll get into the costing and what you do, but the other thing I think that people, because even if everyone fixed their costing, it's the people that are out there on the road selling it and talking, who then all of a sudden, when a customer mentions another customer and a price, they forget everything that you've done and they go into stupid mode. And they forget that they're in business to make money. They forget that it's okay to make a profit on every job, right? I always say this, the world can't live without us, and no company can function without any form of print. And it could be a business card, it could be a form, it could be an invoice, it could be a brochure, it could be could be anything.
Agreed.
Right? But if we are a service business, we need to make money. And we've killed our own industry by playing the game. Lawyers and accountants keep charging more for their hourly rate than they did at the same wooden desk without adding any expense to it. Yet we have two people working on a machine or a brand new $2 million machine that we can't get $300 an hour for. It doesn't make sense to me. And I'm surprised that it doesn't make sense to more people out there. And obviously it made sense to you because you are where you are now, right? So just tell us anything you want to tell us that excites you about what you started and what you see.
Yeah. The biggest advice, right? We want to add value to the audience, have thought-provoking discussion and insights. What I'm going to share is something I'm really passionate about. And it's not because it's super complicated, like the way we've typically made it, but
Sorry, that goes with the blue book from the old NAPL.
I've got that too.
I've got 4 of them. Yeah.
But our industry has a lot of different flavors of how we may look at profit, VA, gross margin, but thinking about it from something called the contribution margin concept, it's known in our industry, but not really used. So I'm not going to bore into like accounting and those details, but let's keep it simple. My guilty pleasure in the morning is this iced Dunkin' coffee, right? What does this cost? You've got the ice, the coffee, the straw, and the cup. A little bit of printed on it, right? If you ask a printer what that would cost, they'd be looking at the overhead, the insurance, the labor to produce that, the toilet paper in the office, all of the costs of the company and sprinkling it into that's what it costs this coffee. But when you look at it from a contribution lens, and hang with me, we're really looking at what's the true variable costs, meaning to produce this one job, what are the true costs? So for us as printers, it's your paper, it's your ink or your click, sales commission to sell it. Maybe you shipped it to the customer. And if you outsourced it, yeah, that's a legit cost. That's down to earth reality. But the minute we go back to old habits of these crazy hourly rates that are all messed up and complicated, it becomes a mirage. So I just want to start with keep it simple, stupid. I love that acronym. And let's get back to reality of what does that job truly cost? And yes, the overhead is critical, right? We want to get to profit land. We got to get above water to oxygen. So we're obsessed with that as well. But let's go back to keeping it simple and truthful when looking at our jobs.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's so much complications in there and so many numbers and so many people. But I really think that a lot of owners don't understand their business to begin with.
And it's
Right?
tough trying to be a Superman or Superwoman, wear all the hats, have all the strengths. And that's why we got teams. But, you know, a lot of the owners I work with, and I love this industry, that we do come from different backgrounds. And yeah, numbers isn't everyone's forte, but going back to simplicity and truth and just 101, what does this cost? Let's think about it simple, right? That can serve us really well, and not these hourly rates craziness.
So how would you, I mean, now that we're on it and everyone's sitting there listening and they're going, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
Right. So give us a little lowdown on what goes into the process of thinking to
Yep.
do the job.
Yeah. So let's just go back to like print shop 101, right? We want to get to profit land. We don't take all this risk and work so hard to just break even, right? We want to get to profitability. So it's critical. If you don't, when you're listening to what I'm going to say, have that number in your head, it's a great first stepping stone of what is my fixed cost every month to run the business, right? Whether you're doing one job or 10,000, knowing what that overhead is, that's the summit of your mountain, right? And if we want to get to profit land up above, we got to cover those fixed costs. Okay, great. Got it. I can go to my P&L, go to my controller, we can get that number. Then every job you ship throughout the month, when you say, what did we sell it for? And what were those variable costs that I mentioned? Keep it simple. What's left over? That's like a thermometer. That's called contribution. And that's our fuel to covering our overhead and getting to profit land. And when you make it that simple, you can see clearly Who is helping or hurting you get to profit land? The jobs, the customers, the products, the business segments, the customer industries. I could go on and on. But you see your business with 2020 vision for the first time. And I'm obsessed with it. It empowers business owners with fancy Ivy League degrees to folks who never went to business school, really look at their business in a different lens, make better decisions.
So how, when you go meet somebody who's old school,
Yep.
by the blue book, how does the conversation go?
I have found behind closed doors with mutual respect, right? Owners are tired and they are frustrated because it's
Beat up.
waters out there. They're beat up, right? And working hard for 30, 31 days in a month and getting our P&L later and hoping, doing that for decades, that's exhausting. So when someone comes to the table saying, I believe there's a better way, I've been in your shoes, and I have a proven way to see more clearly, make more confident decisions in an industry where there's a 2% net profit margin average. I find that more times than not, there's open eyes and ears saying, hit me with it, right? Because this old way is exhausting. So that
Oh,
open-mindedness is critical. We got to do it to help ourselves, to help our industry.
by the way, if company's making 2%, but the owner's taking out $1.5 million, it's okay, right? But most people aren't taking out the money.
No, yeah,
The go. I'm just saying, because in business, you own a business, you're also running. If you own a business, you have expenses, you have certain things, you factor that into whatever it is you take at the end. But the truth is, you want to be highly profitable, that you could take as much cash as you want, and within reason, as much expense as you want. Right. So you're in the meeting, you're in closed doors, you're sitting there. The owner's now broken down. His elbows are on the table. His head's in his hand. You've got him like at a moment where he's actually stopped, breathing, and he's thinking.
yeah.
What is the first thing you do? How do you go about working with someone or getting them to change their mindset?
Yeah. So what I built is, and it doesn't exist anywhere else in the industry. It is a profitability software by printers for printers, right? It's not your MIS. It's not your QuickBooks. It just takes that data and it goes very deep to how can you see your business with clarity, 2020 vision, and get where you're looking to go financially. So by building a software like that, where we can tap into the MIS and bring the data in, we can bring to life this for the first time. I want to show you your company with data in this lens, right? And Warren, I have to tell you, it's like a reality TV show. There's gasp, OMG, I can't believe it. There's I knew it, but now I can see it with data. And then there's a little bit in between, like, okay, not too surprised. That's kind of what I thought. So it's all about just grabbing the data, bringing to life in a modern software, and then it's off to the races. Where do you want to go financially? And here's a path to get you there.
Wow. I reserved the domain name, and we should probably do something with it. But I got Print Shop Rescue,
Ooh, that's good.
like after the restaurant rescue.
That's good.
But then I was thinking, like, oh my God, I want to go in and do that. But there was no one coming in with me to do it with enough money to actually turn a shop around. But that might be a fun
That's
idea
our
one day.
series we're gonna make.
That could be a good one, right? But with the software is great and you're doing it, but it's still the person in the old school who's sitting there.
Yeah.
So what is, when you start to tell him all of this, what's his first reaction to you? Or what's his first questions to you to try to get by to understand what you're saying?
Yeah. It's a lot of hand-holding and education and making sure we're both understanding at a similar level. And it's not going off in the weeds of complexity, but just looking at that business 101 analogies that I've been talking about, and then bring it into their world. And this is what your print shop looks like, 101, right? And this is what current state is. And here's the aspirations you told me of where you want to go. And here's tangible ways you and your team can start to row the boat in that direction. So it's not about 100 miles per hour, buzzwords, fluff. it's back to reality, back to simplicity, good bones, good structure, and having a clear path to move forward. Does that answer your question, Warren, in kind of that approach?
Yeah, yeah. I want to go like deeper. I just want to know what they do, how they do it. Is there resistance? Is there no resistance?
Yeah.
How do they get over the, like, when you come up? Tell me how you come up with a price, because that's what everybody's asking. Well, okay, now he's talking all this stuff.
Yeah.
How do you determine what a price is then?
For the software in that example you're saying, or
Well, you're selling something, so you use your old school MIS system that comes up and it tells you that it's well, whatever, it's $20 for the book,
yep,
right? One book.
yep,
If you do it your way,
got it, got it, got
what
it, got
would the price be?
Yeah. So now we're talking about great segue. Thinking about pricing in our industry, the MIS, you input the specs of the book, right? You know the desired markup, and voila, out pops selling price. In the print profit way, we look historically, hey, where is your profit for this customer, for this product? And identifying with the data, where are you leaving money on the table? Or where are you going in higher than we know that customer
Okay,
is?
so I just want to stop. I just have to interrupt you because then I'll forget as we go farther. When you talk about knowing what your value of the customer is, your markup, you're already in outer space with most people, because most people have not thought about their customer in terms of long-term value or short-term value or anything. They're just stuck on the MIS system putting out the price and they're selling it.
Yep.
So
And this
you
Zoom,
need a complete paradigm shift in
yeah,
your brain. You almost need a therapist to help you break the mold of how you were thinking, because it really is sounds right, but for our industry being so old, right? It's like trying to imagine that, like, somebody landing on the moon.
and the way to approach it once again is keeping it simple, something people can absorb versus over their head. So even really, really killer graphs and visuals could say, here's all your products. And here's the profit margins, low, high, and here's where you're selling it for all your customers. And we can sit back and say, why are they getting this price? Or, wow, we're getting away with that. How can we double down there? And we don't want to be 2% net profit. How do we get to 10? Okay, here's some levers with the pricing and let's go experiment, right? Here's the new guardrails for the estimator going forward. So once again, it's having that clarity, having the data, putting a strategy on top of it, and then living that out each day, rinse and repeat.
Yeah, it's like, sounds so simple, but I'm thinking about some of the other printers out there, and I'm just shaking my head, going, will they ever get it? Right. So let's you've in doing what you've done, you've spoken with little print companies, big print companies, middle print companies.
Yep.
Um, Give me an idea what the big guy says. And I saw something online about Simpress, right? Where you spoke with them. So I don't want to discuss anything I shouldn't discuss in public. But they're pretty large. They're not even a printing company. They're a technology company who just happens to sell print, right? But and I think you would think they know what they're doing before you got there. So without giving away, like, their secrets,
Sure.
and what he spoke, how did that go? Like,
Yeah.
the reason I'm asking is because little people or smaller people um, know that the big people are reaching out to other people for help as well. There's nothing wrong. The biggest CEOs in the world have coaches. I just want to make people feel comfortable that, don't think as low as you have to. It's just everyone needs help. So sorry to cut you on that, but
No. And let's just reiterate that small, medium, large, independent of shape and size in our industry, these are universal challenges and all around the world. So you're not alone, right? Um, but working with larger printing companies in our industry, they typically have that more sophisticated data. And if you can come to them saying, this is my Oakland A's, my Moneyball shirt, if you can say, we can identify the hidden growth opportunities. And if we double down here, adjust the dials here, this is what we can bring to the bottom line. That is something that gets people quite interested. all the way down to the one person shop who does t-shirts in their basement, who may not have a treasure trove of data, but how can they use this thinking of that mountain analogy and the true profit from each job, and how does it influence them and the decisions they make? So my whole thing with print profit in this software, it's not just for the big boys, a have and have not. I am so passionate about helping small, medium, large. And from day one, that's always been my dream, is moving our industry forward, right? Raising the tide and all boats, baby. That's what it's about.
And the majority, I believe, are, small independent companies,
That's the norm.
not the big. That's
But
what makes up forget the R.R. Donnellys and the et cetera, others, right? It's really like the people on the street, or the smaller people and the small shops. And do have the franchisors like the Alpha Graphics and Sir Speedy's reached out to you for conversation? Because a lot of their people have no idea what they're doing, right? A lot of the small places, they advertise the cost per click.
right. Yeah. No,
There's a cost to walk in the door. It's $15 automatic, or whatever the price is, right?
right. Yeah, there's a lot of ways, whether it's franchises, like I'm always thinking about scale, right? I didn't take this risk to leave the corporate world working for one of the largest printers in the world to have 20 to 50 customers I support. I want to bring this to the masses. And there's a lot of clever ways to think about how can you get in there and make a difference. So I'm still figuring that out, still working on strategies, but the mission hasn't changed of where I want to go and how I want to help.
What's been the reaction from the big, small, medium people you've spoken to, the good and the bad? Because I can't, I'm sitting here drooling because I think this is just unbelievable, because it's always been about profit. And as far back as I could remember, if I go back to the NAPL days,
Yeah.
not that I want to date me or anybody else, but profit then was 2% and the profit leaders were 10%. And I think the profit leaders are probably dropped to 8% now. And the 2 to 3 could be 1 to 2, if not negative.
Yep.
Right?
I'll answer it like this because it's a double-edged sword. With this software, you can truly see your business with 2020 vision for the first time. Slice and dice your profit all this way. So the common reaction is, that's great, I can see clearly, but I can really see clearly and it hurts. I don't like current state, right? So the second big value proposition is, all right, we got a good foundation. Now where do you want to go? And how can we get you there? So, that's the silver lining of, if it was just a fancy dashboard saying you don't have enough sales, you suck, how did that help me, right? But you need to come in saying, here's the tangible path to move forward and improve. So with those two, yeah.
Yeah. So our industry is made up of all kinds of people and all kinds of groups and all kinds of ages and whatnot. The mindset change. How do you think we're going to deal with that? I mean, we are stuck. Some people, I've been telling some of the owners, you need to start listening to your people, right? They're old enough, even though they're young,
Yep.
to understand, and you got to get in touch with them, because it is a new world out there and things are changing. And there's plenty of people that don't even hang out and chat with their younger kids to know what the kids are thinking, right? Which is something I love to do and always love to do. I'd love to do carpool and sit there and just listen to them in the backseat talk and shut up and remember I'm just a driver, and then pick up all that information, right? And it's the same thing, with printers when we get around in a group and they sit and they talk and I just listen, but I shake my head because most of the conversations are not upbeat.
I see the generation who's slowly taking over, who's running our industry today. Really, I'm 34, right? So 30 to 40-year-olds coming in, generational family businesses starting to make that transition, talking about modern software or using data or thinking different ways. A lot of the reaction is, what do you mean we're not doing that? Like, everyone else is. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's do it, right? Where you have more of the traditional sense, who a lot of this is new territory and change is hard. But I think over time, when we have a change of the generations running the industry, a lot of these traditional books and thinking that we've talked about, my generation doesn't know that, you know? So I think over time, because that evolution, I think we will modernize and we'll be forced to, right? You need to be profitable. You need to be relevant. You need to exist.
Oh,
So you got to,
I I agree. So what I've seen out there is I've seen a lot of companies where family companies where it's going to be passed on to the younger generation, or they're going to work for it, they're going to pay for it. No one's saying they're getting it for free, but in that period, the elder, the leader, the senior, um, still controls, right? So when somebody wants to go do some marketing, they have to explain to the senior about marketing and why they want to spend that money. Which, if you're senior, if you're a leader, if you're a fossil, you got to ease up a little bit. No, you got to ease up because you're going to kill these young people who actually know what they're doing, right? Because they're on this and they're talking and they're seeing, and there's so much resistance at the
it's a
passing of the torch.
but there can be a middle ground, but it does take on both ends open-mindedness, you know?
I want to push that. I'm trying to speak to anybody front and back. It's like if I'm going in to consult with a company, it kind of goes like this. If I'm talking to the owner, if you, the owner, are not sitting in on all the sessions that we're doing,
Yeah.
I'm not interested in working for the company, because all it means is no one's going to listen. Not no one. I don't want to insult everyone. I'm just going to insult a few of you. But just life is that most don't listen, and they go off and they do something else after. I mean, what can you take in an hour or 2 hours? It's got to be repetitive. It's got to be, there's got to be continuity to it. There's got to be learning, practice. There's got to be walking the talk, not just
Yeah.
talking.
And buy-in, like you're saying, at all levels, or else it's not going to happen.
To the companies out there that sell the MIS systems, is there a way for you? Maybe it's a path you have and I'm just crossing the line somewhere, but is it a path for you, for them to come maybe work with you, because their systems in return could give them back information on the spot?
Yeah, all about how can we work together, collaborate, doing the integrations, they call it APIs between the software so they can talk. So that's a huge opportunity and a way to bring it to the masses, right? You have to do that.
Well, I think we have to bring it to the masses sooner than later. Again, I'm going to say it, and I keep saying it. I don't hear people saying it. The world doesn't function without us, and they need us. And to the customer who calls you, you know what? I still sell a little bit of print if people call me. And if you call me for print, don't call me for price. Call me because you want me to fulfill a project and make it happen, right? But I got doing something with a customer, and I'm quoting, some packaging, and they're going off on me on, oh, that's so expensive. And all I said was, how do you come up with it so expensive? You don't even know what it costs to make. I look at what you're selling and I think that's expensive. I'm $1.25. You're $75 and I'm expensive. Maybe you should go talk to somebody else. Like, we as an industry need to take a stance, because we are, and I'm going to say it, we're allowed to make money,
Yep.
right? I remember I had salespeople who would come in, they'd go see a customer, they'd come in with the quote, and they'd say to me, listen, we got to be really good on the price if we want it. I go, we haven't even quoted it. What are you whining to me for already?
Quoting and pricing, and that's the wild, wild west. But
Right?
Warren, I
No,
was
but my point is, they're already thinking about the down. The sales guy's thinking about the down and the low price. I'm always thinking, as the sales guy, how could I upcharge them? What value could I bring? What can I say to them to make them change their mind? Who do I know out there that maybe I could introduce them to for
right.
no other reason for my client to know that I'm thinking of him other than the print and his business?
I love the saying, be careful about the race to the bottom because you might win it. And using like data to help make smarter pricing decisions, which there's so much opportunity. You will know who's clearly the bottom feeder and who's paying the premium, and how can you get more for what that customer might be willing to pay. So
I love this. The other day, I'm talking with a customer, a printer, And they say to me, we got this competitor. We don't know how he keeps coming in at those prices, and it doesn't make sense. And I looked at him, and all I said to him was like, what do you care? Why are you? I said, he's winning because you're thinking of him right now, and he's doing the job. I said, number one, you're a $10 million player. He's a $70 million player. You can't even compare. I said, so don't even try to think. Look at what your costs are. Look at what you need to do to run your business,
Yep.
right? That person has 20 presses, all the finishing. And you're running around. I said, he buys more board in a month than you sell in a year. And
Yeah.
you're asking why?
Yeah, run your own race. And we know bigger is not always better. And there's different ways to could be selling less to be more profitable on the bottom line.
Better is better. I'll tell you this from my own experience. I made more money at $8 million when I had no debt running my business ever than when I built it to 19, 20 million. Okay.
Yeah, we know it's
Top line, for everyone listening, it's really simple schooling. Top line is ego. Bottom line runs your business. Top number, don't compete with anybody. Okay. And the winners, they don't talk about their bottom line. And that's what I've learned to sum up all these years, right? Because when I started, and it's fine if you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, you want to build, the numbers are exciting, right? But don't lose track of why you're here. And now, this is going to sound even funnier, better, but now doing what I'm doing, and unfortunately, I don't have my print company, which I wish I did. I miss walking the plank every morning on that 142.
Sure.
But even now, the other day, someone called me. I did a small print job. Okay, I sold it for $2,000. I made $1,000. It's a no-brainer, right? If I was working at a print company, I'd get $100. I get $200, and the company probably would have sold it at $1,400. Why? I had a conversation with the customer. They know I know what I'm talking about. I gave them a couple ideas to go along with it. I suggested why I wouldn't do it like that. And at the end of the day, they felt comfortable.
Yeah.
Why do you use the lawyer you use if he's $800 an hour, $1,200 or $400? It's a comfort. It's a relationship. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, way back when cell phones came out, I remember every quote I did, I would add $2 on to cover my cell phone. After all costing and pricing and selling, right? It was just a mind game to beat it and add on everything everywhere, as opposed to taking off, right? I mean, you've seen it. This makes me crazy. I come across a print shop. We don't charge for wash ups. We're on 4-color. What are you, an idiot? Of course you're washing up and using rags and chemicals to get from one job to the other. How do you not charge it up? Right? Or someone's $250 for a make ready and 4 plates. What are you, an idiot? We used to charge $300 for plates and a proof. And then CTP changed that because everyone started hiding it in instead of keeping it out. And then the printers that went into the packaging space messed up the packaging guys because the packaging guys charge dies extra, charge plates extra, redo plates. And the print people just put it into the price. Like you're leaving money on the table everywhere thinking you're smarter beating the system and making less money.
There's a lot of lessons I've learned on price, and I by no means have it all figured out. But I was asked on a previous podcast, what's the biggest advice you give to someone about pricing? And I said, know your costs. Because then if you do want to do something crazy, at least you do have that clarity. Or if you do want to go for the premium, but you got to have that anchor to know what are you really working with here.
It's so funny you say that because I would say to everybody, if you know your cost, you could make an educated decision for whatever it is. You want to lowball it because you've got a bigger plan and they're giving you something
Sure.
else. But you know where you stand.
Yep.
You're not playing Russian roulette because, listen, we all know it, right? We know the minute we take something that it's not going right. When a person hands me a PO that I was like, I don't really want it, or I know I did something, I go, oh no, I'm going to lose my shirt on this one. And I continue to do it. the gut doesn't lie in this business. We know enough. We've been pounded enough to know when it's going downhill, right? I mean, thank God for digital today. We're not printing Reflex Blue anymore. Reflex Blue on a letterhead or a business card would never dry, right? And then you'd have all the offsetting and the redoing of the jobs. So the way the industry's changed has actually made things a little easier for us. But to everyone listening, things the way they change, the industry hasn't gotten cheaper. It's gotten more expensive.
Yeah.
So why people think that what they buy should be less than it was is insane. I was so excited at COVID in our industry. Why? Because paper was scarce and expensive. And if everybody buys paper at $1 a pound and puts on their markup, whatever they want, you get more money on the higher the cost of using your markup. So who cares? I don't want any of us to buy paper at 50 cents a pound. If we all went with a 30% markup on 50 cents a pound, 30% on $1 a pound is better for all of us. So, you can't have collusion, but really you can, because look at the gas companies. The price is the same for gas on the corner when you have 3 different gas stations. So how's that not collusion? But that's another conversation with another industry. But we could definitely be smarter with what we do. And I'm amazed that it's 2025 and we still have these conversations.
Yeah. And we're passionate, right? So for anyone listening, Warren, myself, we're glass half full. And I just see ripe for opportunities to modernize, to think different, and help move us forward to a more profitable future. And those opportunities are out there.
There's so many there's always an opportunity, right? But people have to want to make those opportunities.
Agreed.
I was never a believer in this, and I used to kind of laugh at the person who used to say it to me all the time. But you've got to make that big V, and you've got to talk and put it out into the universe if you want it to happen. If you keep everything pent up inside to yourself, no one's going to hear, no one's going to know, no one's going to do anything, right?
Put it out.
We talk companies that don't market. I mean, you're not doing the costing, but the marketing. When times get tough, to me, it's the reason to market, because nobody else is marketing, and then people are going to see you out there and they're going to want to deal with you instead of running away.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, unless you're a public company, you got to answer to the shareholders, and you cut your marketing. But if you're private, don't follow the rules of the public companies. There's always something to do out there.
Go out on offense, not just live in defense.
Always. I think more print companies could work together before they go out and buy additional equipment, and you've got someone within a mile or two of you. Make friends, make a relationship with the understanding that, hey, if I'm giving you business and I could do X amount of dollars, eventually I will buy a piece of equipment. But until then, you get to benefit from me, and I benefit from you giving me the preferred price, working together. He fills up his bottom line contribution.
Yep.
The other person gets the benefit of making a few bucks without having to take on that additional overhead. And there's plenty of it out there. But people become, I need. Yeah, and you know what? You got to watch the OEMs, right? The OEMs will convince you that you have everything, and they have everything that you need, and you need it, but you don't always need it, right? Let me ask you a question. Are OEMs and ROIs?
What about it? You're saying they're
I wanted to see if you would jump on something first, but yeah, so like the OEMs would come into my place, right? And they'll want to know, like, say I'm bringing in I want to buy a piece of digital. So I won't mention any of the names of them, but they'll come in and they'll, want to look, and they'll say to me, hey, why don't you give us everything you run in this size on your 40-inch press? And I'm like, don't fucking touch my 40-inch press. I own it, and you can't produce 8,000 pieces of paper, 8.5, 11, cheaper than I can get it on there. And I don't care about the waste, because I'm not paying a click charge, and I'm not paying a lease charge to that. So just take for me the work that I could do on your machine, right? But so when I ask the ROI stuff, you deal with printers. What do they say, or do they say when they go in, and how are they looking at investing in something new using maybe your view versus the old way?
Sure. So I see a lot of times and I'm only 34, but I've worked a lot of places in our industry, and I've heard about the heydays and areas where You could go off a gut feeling and make a press purchase. In today's environment, if you're not running those numbers, uh, both on your own, independent of what the OEM's numbers may say, um, that is so dangerous. And I don't know many people today who would be doing that or getting away with gut feeling. But to your point, you have to look at unbiased. It's art and science. What do the numbers say? And then, what's the soft impact of it as well?
So there's another problem that I see, that maybe there's a solution out there that you might have, or you can, come up with. But a good part of the printers out there just don't have the human resources or the financial resources or the nowhere to go to get some of this done, because like we were saying, the majority is smaller operations, right? In my case, I joined the entrepreneur organization. I joined the NAPL for leadership. I joined every association. I joined a peer group when
Sure.
I started, because I was 26 years old. And my idea back then was surround myself with people that know better, people that I could lean on. So hopefully I make less mistakes, although I still made millions of dollars of mistakes, right? And you do it that way. I don't know what everyone's doing today, or if they're even reaching out to learn from others, because what does the small shop do? I mean, it's hard enough to make the change from the only way you knew to cost doing the hourly thing to
Right.
upgrade to modern thinking the way you're doing it. But they're already working 85 hours a week, and where do they figure out how to do what they do? What do we do for those guys, girls?
Yeah. So in this profitability software, there is an area saying, what if? What if we take on this press? Or what if we do this with labor? Or what if we spend this on marketing? Now, how does that shake out bottom line, right? Black and white, does that make us more profitable or not? So making an exercise like that, which is an acquired taste, and someone without that kind of background wouldn't have a lot of success making it through successfully. How do you bring that to the masses who may not have that background in a simple way they can wrap their head around and kind of know, if we put the compass this way, is that helping or hurting? So I'm passionate about bringing down that traditional barrier there. But you had a great point about peer groups, getting involved in the associations. That's also gold. And especially when it comes to 6 to 8 figure capex investments, you want to do that right. So
Oh, you know what? Today, you cannot build it and they will come. I did that. The last machine I bought, I did that, and that was a KBA Koning Bauer. I gotta keep calling them
you get a
KBA.
wide format, right? A
I
big.
did a 142 6 color, fully loaded UV, raised off the ground, printing anything from 2 point to 40 point. It was a $5 million purchase, right? I had a bit of a plan, right? Because it was the only machine within 500 miles of Montreal. So that was pretty good. And my plan was pretty good until a competitor went out and bought a 56-inch machine as well. And the difference was I was planning on picking up all the oversized work around, right? Because I had the only one and I could make the price. He ended up buying a 2-year-old machine that was sitting in an OEM's warehouse, and it wasn't UV, and he paid a lot less. And then he was able to smash me out of the park in a lot of places because he didn't have the UV and all that extra overhead. And
Sure.
I found other things to do with it, and we became one of the largest producers of printed canvas in North America at the time. But that was scary, because for 18 or for 10 months, I had build it, they will come, and I built the right thing. And then, competitor called me up and said, let's have lunch. And I kind of just chuckled. I go, why do you want to have lunch with me? I mean, I like the guy. So we went to have lunch, and he says, listen, I want you to hear it from me. I'm putting a bid in on a 56-inch press, but before I do that, I wanted to know if there's something we could do together, and I don't have to buy it. And unfortunately, I would have been merging, making an employment contract, and I wouldn't have been king. But I
Sure.
said no. It was just I didn't want to be. I wanted to be king. In the end, it was okay. Maybe I should have done it, but the point is, he called. He sat down. But today, you need to know your cost. You need to know everything you're doing. Transport today in a business is not what it was. There's no more 1 hour couriers for $18. They're $45,
Yeah.
right? Rent, where I live now, and I'm sure it's everywhere. The last lease I had, we were like $8, $9, $10 a square foot all in. Then it was a 12. Rates are $18, $19, and $20 for industrial space now, a square foot. You got to factor that in right away. If you have a low cost rent now, why are they not pretending and raising it to be the current rate so that they're in line with everybody else instead of winning maybe a little bit and then scrambling later? You could make the extra profit now just by playing with the rent because everyone else is, right? The consumables, I just don't see enough adjustment happening. People are more, until maybe you see it also, but people are trying to figure out how to keep it low, not justify raising it.
Yeah, we know the stakes are too high,
right? But but this is the funny thing. In their own lives, when they're not at the work, they make the right decisions with the things they do, what they buy, how they buy it, and the way they buy it. And then they get into work and they all of a sudden they get a blank, right? It's like treat people the way you want to be treated, service people the way you want to be serviced. Don't go off on people. I'm in a restaurant, I'm with someone, the service is bad. The person I'm with is losing it. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I said, maybe they're having a bad day. They didn't make the food. Don't shoot the messenger, because you know what? One day you're going to have a little mess up and someone's going to shoot you. Again, karma, put it in the universe, positive energy, positive thinking. The print industry is not that positive all the time. And I think it's a battle.
Challenging economically, but we know some of the most passionate people out there who deeply care. So like you've been saying throughout our conversation, keeping an open mind, thinking about new approaches that could benefit. And what's the worst case? You have an open mind, you hear someone's idea and you disagree with it. Well, but at least to have the conversation. Maybe it took one thing away from it. So,
or try it. I mean, okay, so you're meeting somebody, you have 30 minutes. You're meeting a printer who is in the gutter. Okay, he's got a decent shop, but his thinking's all backwards. 30 minutes. What do you say to him in that 30 minutes to get him to?
So I can just go straight to the pain points, right? Can you tell me this month where you're going to end up? Nope. Can you tell me your most profitable customer industry or product or this or that? Not with confidence, right? There's just a list throughout the company of these pain points where it's exhausting. So once we quickly establish, hey, current state, not fun, then we can get into there's a better way and here's how.
Perfect. And they hopefully just want to listen.
Yeah.
Does anybody not want to listen when you start talking?
I've definitely had some Heisman poses here and there, but you know what? Not everyone's going to be open to change or hearing different thought points. So I don't take it personally. You build thick skin and they know where to find you if they ever change their mind. So,
I've got thick skin, but I'm going to tell you, my skin is wearing thin, right? Because I think we are in the greatest industry in the entire world. And when I got into print, it was really a simple and easy thought. Oh my God, everyone, as a salesperson, everyone I meet has a need for some form of print. So all day and night, everyone I met for years, all I was doing was say, hey, you have any print? You have any print? You need print? I'm in the car with a salesman. My salesman, the phone rings in my car. I've said this before. Person, I answer and I go, hello. And they go, oh my God, wrong number. I go, wait. I said, now we're on the phone. I said, I got a question. I said, I'm in the printing business. Any chance you need some print that we could talk about?
Oh, that's
and
good.
the person on the phone is cracking up and says, oh my God, I've never had someone try to solicit me on a wrong call before. And I love it. And I said, hey, I'm just trying to make use of my time. And you never know. And then I said, what do you do? Maybe I could do something that you have to offer.
Really?
Right? And I get off the phone and my salesperson looks at me and he goes like, you don't expect me to do that, do you? I'm like, okay, I might fire you right now. If anything, shut your mouth. That is like, right? I remember walking in a restaurant in the .com days. Everyone's doing it. I'm walking by and two guys are talking at the table about their need and what they're doing. And I just say, oh my God, guys, I'm not going to stop, but here's my card. I heard you mention the word print packaging. And if you should need anything, it's my company. I'm just selling myself. And then table was next to them. And later on in the lunch, I heard them talking about how bad business was and the burn rate. And on the way out, the card was still on the table. And I said, no, I don't think I'll be working with you guys. And everybody was just kind of laughing because you make a little joke about what goes on.
Yeah.
So I think we're in the greatest industry in the world. Excuse me. I love what you're doing. I will do anything I can with you to help you change the way this industry thinks and operates.
Means a lot.
I think that the OEMs should be listening to this. And if you have customers that maybe you bring Nick in first, because if he helps set them up right, that they understand their business, you might have an easier time selling them one of those machines. So this is what I always say. I say to the printer, I'll back you up on anything you want to buy if you can answer the 5 questions. Who are you going to sell? How are you going to sell? Who's going to sell it? Do you know what your cost is? Do you know what your true cost is when it's on the floor? And do you know what you're going to sell it for? And if you can't answer any of those 5 questions, don't buy it. And I say to the OEM, ask your customers the 5 questions. And if they can't answer them, don't sell them the machine. Help them figure out those answers to the questions. And then you guys will have a better relationship because it'll be more grounded.
Agreed.
The problem is the OEMs aren't going to do that. They're going to just sell the machine to anyone they can, regardless of what they say. And I'm not insulting anybody. It's business 101, right? But there's so many little questions that could be asked and then answered to help you move forward.
Yeah. And my thought is Print Profit is a neutral player here, wanting to help all parties involved make the best, most informed decisions.
Yeah, me too. Same thing. By the way, I love buying equipment. I mean, nothing better than going in. It's like better than buying a car, actually, buying a press or something new or being the first, right? But I want everyone to be sound in this business. I want everyone to have a good financial foundation. Yeah. I want everyone to know what they're doing. I want them to make money. That's why you're in business, to make money, and you're allowed to make money.
Yeah.
Right?
We take on risk.
we are as an industry pretty heavy on the risk side compared to others. Right? Yes. I know a lot of people, a lot of businesses buying, selling, doing, creating, but they ain't laying out $3, $4, $5 million on the floor.
Yep.
To get it, to make it go.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of crazy. Oh man. I'm just starting to get going, but we're going to cut this one. It's not short, but we're going to cut it now. A couple quick things. Number one, as I said, anything I could do to help you with anybody. I think this is the greatest thing since I got into this business. And now that I'm not a printer for say with equipment on the floor, I want to help every printer get to the point where they should be. Now, if you have a family, you got to get on this right away because you want to keep passing this on to the family. Right? Yeah. You don't want to end it. We're going to have another podcast when you're ready, because what I'd like to do next time is show people just some small examples of what it is that you might be doing to get them to kind of wet their lips and want to know a little more.
Let's bring an owner on, maybe old generation, younger, and get why did they think different?
Oh my God. I love that. I love that. Done. We are doing that. We'll speak after to do that. Any final words to the viewers before we go?
Yeah, grateful for this opportunity. I'd say just in the spirit of our conversation, we've got an incredible industry. We want nothing but a bright and prosperous and profitable future. I love the opportunity to learn more about your business and see how this profitability software can help you get where you're looking to go. So Warren, thanks for all you're doing, being a spokesperson for our industry, pushing it forward. And to you listening, thanks for tuning in and hearing two guys who love print.
Cool. So when this gets posted, I'll put the website there. And if you want to give me perhaps a Calendly link I could put that on if people want to register.
Awesome.
Or we'll figure out something and then I'll post it so people have easy access to you. And I think that'll be a lot of fun. To everybody listening, I really, really hope that you enjoyed this as much as I did. I hope you're sitting there going, oh man, I'm doing it the right way. I'm so happy I'm profitable. I also hope you're sitting there going, oh man, I'm a loser. I have not been doing it the right way. I'm losing my shirt. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to call Nick and I'm going to figure this shit out because you know what? There's no reason I'm not on top. Right? And if you are a owner and you're single and you fish, more money. Live scope is expensive these days on the boat. All that to say, folks, love you all. Love printing. Stay tuned. Reach out if you have anything you want to say, and we will see you back here soon. Nick, thank you again.
Thanks, Warren.